different branches of chemistry that you are having is organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry and physical chemistry. First one is classification of elements and periodicity in properties. So your question paper is going to be divided into 5 parts, that is part A, part B, part C, part D and part E. And you have to identify the acid radical and basic radical, for which you will have 10 marks. Hello everyone, this is Ambali Unnikrishnan from the Department of Chemistry. So today I am here to give you an introduction session on the first PUC syllabus for the year 2024-25. Right, so in today's session we are going to see first of all what you are going to study in chemistry and the different branches of chemistry, course structure, that is you have two structures that you have to learn here, that is your theory as well as practical, right? You will have theory exam as well as you will have practical exam, both are of equal importance. Then we'll see the question paper pattern as well as the blueprint and the reference books that you can use. Okay, first of all, coming to chemistry, what is chemistry? So chemistry is a branch of science wherein which you will be studying about reactions, right? The mechanism of these reactions, how various substances are combining with each other and forming the products. So those will happen in the form of reactions, right? So we will be studying about the different characteristics of reactions also in this branch of science, that is chemistry. So now in your syllabus, the different branches of chemistry that you are having is organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry and physical chemistry. So a total of 9 chapters you are having in this syllabus, and it is being divided into physical, inorganic and organic chemistry chapters, right? So for your exam, you will have 70 marks examination, which is your theory examination, which will be happening for 3 hours, right? It is a written examination which consists of 70 marks. Right, so the total adds up to 100. The rest of the 30 marks is completely depending upon your practical. Right, so practical will be the experiments that you are going to do in lab. In the upcoming slides, I will be discussing what are the practical experiments that you are going to do in lab as well. Right, so the lab, for what you are doing in the lab, that is the performance of the experiment, you will be getting 20 marks. The rest 6 and 4 marks will be for your viva as well as the record. Right, so this is how the marks is going to be distributed in the practical exam, which is also of equal importance as that of theory, because if you score this 30 marks completely, it makes you score a better mark in your theory exam. So your practical subject, that is chemistry, the marks division is 70 plus 30. 70 theory and 30 marks is practical. I hope it is clear. Now coming on to the different chapters you are having, the first chapter is some basic concepts of chemistry. So this is a chapter which actually helps you to link or bridge between your 9th and 10th standard, what you have studied before, coming to the first PUC. So some things which you have already studied in your 9th, 10th, we are going to discuss here in the beginning, that is what is matter, what it is made up of, different properties of matter, all of that which you already are familiar with, and then thereby we will be studying some new informations also. Coming to second chapter, that is structure of atom, wherein we will be studying about atom, right? In atom we have electrons, protons and neutrons. So how this is being discovered, where exactly in an atom the electrons are placed, neutrons are placed, protons are placed, regarding the total detail of structure of atom we are going to study in this chapter. Next is classification of elements and periodicity in properties. So this gives you, or this chapter gives you, an introduction to the periodic table. So actually you are supposed to study this in your 10th standard itself. The chapter is being deleted. So in this year, in your first PUC, you are going to start with the periodic table. What are groups, what are periods, all of that in detail about a general idea of the periodic table you are going to study. Right. The next chapter is chemical bonding and molecular structure. So in this particular chapter, that is chemical bonding and molecular structure, how different atoms are combining together, they will be combining together by forming bonds, right? So what are the different bonds that is present between the atoms? How these bonds are exactly being formed, right? How bonds are being formed, all that we are going to study. Now, based on the bonds, what are the different shapes or geometries of these compounds also we are going to study in this chapter. Coming to the fifth chapter, that is thermodynamics. So this is a chapter in which we are going to study about energy changes, right? So this also is a completely new branch for you, thermodynamics. Same way the next chapter also, equilibrium. These two chapters is completely new for you, right? Now the next one is redox reactions, that is chapter 7. Even this you have studied in your previous years as well. What is a redox reaction, right? In terms of oxygen and hydrogen you have studied. Now in this first PUC you are going to study it in terms of electrons. Moving on to the eighth one, it is organic chemistry, some basic principles and techniques. So regarding organic chemistry, a basic introduction we are going to have in first PU, right? So various types of reactions involving in organic chemistry are going to see. In detail about each of the functional groups, in detail you are going to study in second PU. In first PU, you have an introduction on organic chemistry. Then the last chapter is hydrocarbons, which you are already familiar with, that is alkanes, alkenes and alkynes. In detail, we are going to study its preparations, reactions, properties, all of that in this chapter. So these are the 9 chapters included in your first PUC syllabus. So there are many chapters which are being deleted. Finally, these are the only 9 chapters that you have in your syllabus. Right. Now moving on to the first part, that is physical chemistry chapters. So you have 4 chapters in physical chemistry. That is your first chapter, some basic concepts of chemistry. So it consists of 11 marks from your 70 marks, right? 11 marks is from some basic concepts of chemistry. So this chapter is very important in form of numericals also. So that is why you're getting 11 marks from this chapter. So the weightage is 11 marks. Moving on to the next chapter, second chapter is structure of atom. The weightage is 13 marks. Now the next one is thermodynamics, the 5th chapter under physical chemistry. Thermodynamics, you have 14 marks from this chapter. Then the last one is equilibrium, 6th chapter, wherein you will have 17 marks. So a total of 55 marks you can score from the physical chemistry part. These are the 4 chapters. Right. Now moving on to the next part, that is inorganic chemistry. You have 3 chapters. First one is classification of elements in periodicity in properties. That is the periodic table chapter, wherein you will have only 6 marks. It's a very small chapter and it's very easy to learn. It's completely theoretical concepts. So you can easily score that 6 marks. The next one is chemical bonding and molecular structure. Very important chapter. You have 16 marks from this chapter. Right. Now the next one is redox reaction. Also very small chapter, easy to score marks, only 6 marks you are getting from this chapter, the weightage. Okay, so a total of 28 marks from the inorganic chemistry part. Now the last one is organic chemistry part, wherein you have 2 chapters. First one is the organic chemistry, some basic principles and techniques. The other one is hydrocarbons. Right, so organic chemistry you have 17 marks, very important chapter. Right, the highest weightage is from organic chemistry, and hydrocarbons you have 15 marks weightage, total of 32. So altogether added you will be scoring 70 marks from this syllabus. So now moving on to the weightage of each chapter from physical, inorganic and organic chapters. That means how many 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 mark and 5 mark questions you can expect, right? So your question paper is going to be divided into 5 parts, that is part A, part B, part C, part D and part E. Part A will be 1 mark, part B will be 2 marks, part C will be 3 marks, part D will be 5 marks, and the last part E is exclusively for numericals, which will be for 3 marks. I hope it is clear. Right. Now the first chapter, some basics of concepts of chemistry. From part A, that is you will have 2 1 mark questions and you will have 1 question from part C and 2 questions from part E. Now these 2 questions are completely numerical from part E. Right. Okay. Now total of 11 marks you will be scoring from this chapter. Moving on to the next one, structure of atom. Okay. You will have 1 question in part A. You will have 2 questions in part C, that is 2 3-mark questions you can expect, and 2 3-mark question in part E. That means those 2 questions will be numericals, right? Now that is a total of 13 marks that you are having. Moving on to the next one, that is thermodynamics. You will have 3 1-mark question, you will have 1 2-mark question, you will have 1 3-mark question, and you will have again 2 3-mark questions which are numerical. So again 2 numericals from this chapter, total 14 marks. Right. Now the last one is equilibrium, wherein you will have 3 1-mark question, 1 2-mark question, 2 3-mark question, and again 2 3-mark question from part E, that is numericals, total of 17. So this is the weightage of each section, that is part A, part B, part C, part D, and part E from these chapters. Moving on to the inorganic chapters, you have classification of elements and periodicity in properties, only 6 marks, right? So you will have 1 question from part A, that is 1 mark 1 question, 2 mark you will have 1 question, 3 mark you will have 1 question. So total 6 marks you will be getting from here. Now the next chapter is chemical bonding and molecular structure. So you will have 3 1-mark questions in part A, and in part B you will have 2 questions. Part C, 3 marks you will have 3 questions. No numericals from this chapter as well. So 16 marks will be scored. Now the next one is redox reactions. 1 mark question 1 you will have, 2 mark question 1, and 3 mark question 1. Total of 6 marks from this chapter as well. So your complete inorganic chapters will not have any numericals. So coming to numerical point of view, these 4 chapters are very, very important, right? So the numerical questions will be completely focused on these 4 chapters. So you have to be very, very careful, right? Now inorganic part is completely theory, no numericals. Moving on to the last part, that is organic chemistry part. So organic chemistry chapter, you have 3 1-mark question, 2 2-mark question, no 3-mark question, right? And directly you will have 2 5-mark questions, right? 2 5-mark questions will be there, and this 5-mark questions also will be divided into 3 plus 2 format. You will have a 3-mark question and you will have a 2-mark question. Total of 17 marks from this chapter. Right. Last one is hydrocarbons. You will have 3 1-mark question. You will have 1 2-mark question, and the rest will be 2 5-mark questions, which gives you a total of 15 marks. So I hope this weightage from each part is clear for you. So coming on to the examination point of view, focusing on the numerical part, this is where you have to give the most attention to. All the numerical questions are from the physical chemistry part, right? Now moving on to the question paper pattern. As I have already discussed, you have 5 parts, that is part A, B, C, D and E. Now the first one is part A. In part A itself, you have 2 sections. That is, one is MCQ type questions and another one is fill in the blank questions. So in part A itself, you will have 2 types, that is MCQ and fill in the blanks. So MCQ questions, you will have a total of 15 questions, out of which all the 15 questions you have to attend. So there is no options. All the 15 you have to attend. Okay. So you will score a total of 15 marks from this part. Now the other section is fill in the blanks. The options will be already given in the question. You have to correctly choose the option and fill in the blanks. So you will get 5 fill in the blank questions. Out of all the 5 questions are compulsory. There are no options. So your part A is completely compulsory. That means there are no options available in part A. You will have 15 MCQ questions and 5 fill in the blank questions in part A. Moving on to part B, that is 2-mark questions, which is called as the short answer type questions, right? You will have 2 marks and a total of 9 questions will be there. Right, a total of 9 questions will be there, out of which you have to only attend any 5. You have options here. Total 9 questions will be there. Out of that, you have to attend only 5. So you will get 10 marks. Right, you will get 10 marks from this section. Next is part C, that is again short answer type, that is 3 marks questions. Right, so that will be again divided into 2. That is 3 mark questions from inorganic chemistry, 3-mark questions from physical chemistry. So again you will have 2 part C's, wherein the first part will be 3-mark questions from inorganic chemistry chapters. Next 3 marks will be from physical chemistry chapter. Coming on to the first one, you will have total of 5 questions, out of which you have to only attend 3. So 3 into 3, you will get 9 marks from this section. The next one, that is physical chemistry. 6 questions will be given, out of which again you have to only attend any 3. 3 into 3 again 9 marks you are going to get from part C. Right. So these two are part C. The first one is inorganic chemistry, other one is physical chemistry. Now the next part is part D, which is the long answer type, 5-mark questions. Right. So in here again you will have 4 questions. Total of 4 questions will be there in part D, out of which you have to only attend any 2. So 2 into 5, you will get 10 marks from this section. Now the last one is part E. As I told you, it is completely and exclusively for numericals, right? So small answer, it's 3-mark questions only, that is numerical problems, not 5 marks. 3 marks, right? Now coming here, 8 questions will be given, out of which you can attend any 4 out of the 8. So 4 into 3, you will get 12 marks. So adding all this 15, 5, 10, 9, 9, 10, 12, you will get a total of 70 marks. So this 115 is the complete total, right? Counting the other options also, total marks is 115, out of which you are going to write an exam for 70 marks. Right. So I hope you are clear with the question paper pattern also. Part A will be 2 type, MCQ and fill in the blanks. Part B will be 2 marks. Part C, again you have 2 parts in part C itself, but both are 3 marks only. Part D will be 5 marks and part E will be completely numericals for 3 marks. Right. So I have given you the number of questions that will be present in that particular part and how many you can attend. Now coming on to the practical side. Yes, the theory discussion is done. Practical, as I told you, it is for completely 30 marks. 70 marks completely theory exam. 30 marks is completely practical exam. So, practical exam will be also conducted for 3 hours, right? So, there are only 2 experiments that you have to do in lab. In chemistry lab, there are only 2 experiments. One is salt analysis, one is volumetric analysis, that is your titration. So, salt analysis, a given salt, simple inorganic salt will be given to you and you have to report one acid radical and one basic radical. That means the salt consists of an anion and cation, right? So you have to identify the anion and cation present in the salt. So anion means the acid radical, cation means the basic radical. So a salt will be given to you, right? And you have to go through a very systematic procedure which will be discussed in the lab, and you have to identify the acid radical and basic radical, for which you will have 10 marks for the first experiment, salt analysis. So that 10 marks include how you are performing the experiment, how you are writing down the procedure, how you are reporting it to the external, all of that comes under 10 marks. Now the next experiment is volumetric analysis, that is your titration. First one is determination of concentration of given sodium hydroxide by titrating against oxalic acid. So you have 2 titrations, that is one is sodium hydroxide against oxalic acid, another one is HCl against sodium carbonate. These 2 experiments in volumetric analysis you have to do. So the procedure you have to follow is the same, but there are 2 titrations that you have to learn, right? And you have to perform in the lab. And for performing and writing down the calculations, calculating the concentration, strength and all of that, you will get 10 marks, right? Now the next part is your Viva. So, Viva questions can be asked from your lab manual itself and it will be for 4 marks. Okay. So, the submission of the duly completed and certified record, that is what is to be written in the record, will be informed to you. Properly and systematically you have to write the record, which will score you 6 marks. So, 6 plus 4 plus 20 will give you a total of 30 marks. So, these 20 marks is completely for performing, and this 4 marks is for Viva and 6 marks is for just submitting the record. So, total you will get a 30 marks from your practical exam. So, now I wanted to tell you this 30 marks is very, very important when you are going to write your theory exam also. Already your practical examination will be done. If you score all of this 30 on 30, it will be easy for you to score higher marks in your theory exams. I hope it is clear. So, you have to be very careful and very serious regarding your practical classes also. Now, these are the reference books that you can use. So for the PU, the books that we are following is the NCERT given book itself. So that is the NCERT textbook. If you need any guide or any other reference books, you can use GWith publication, which is a very good reference books for PU, right? So the NCERT book that is we are referring will be Chemistry Part 1 and Part 2. So your chapters are divided into two books, Chemistry Part 1 and Chemistry Part 2. So in both of this includes the complete syllabus of your first PUC. So it is very important to purchase these two books. This is what we are following in your PUC. We are following NCERT syllabus, right? And reference book you can use GWith publication. So I hope the introduction session to the first PUC syllabus is clear for you. So I hope you will all maintain the enthusiasm and the energy you have in the beginning till the end of this year. So let's meet in the next session with a new chapter. So that's all for today. Thank you.